Hello, my name is Natasha Nurse. I'm the owner and co-founder of Dressing Mermaid, a coaching and consulting platform for women entrepreneurs, creatives. Essentially, what do I do? I'm a content creator, I'm a writer, I'm a blogger, I'm a model, I'm an influencer, I am a public speaker, I am a person who's dedicated to showing people the value of using media, the value of using your words, of using your fashion, of using your personality to get ahead in your personal life and in your career. And with that, tonight's program is all about media, specifically the Netflix show Friends from College. And I truly, truly love this show. If you too love this show, I would love for you to share why, because there's so many different reasons why you would love this show. The show is dope as like AF. It's just amazing. And unfortunately, it has been, the third season has been canceled. And that is really an unfortunate situation because the 2 seasons really isn't enough. The story was really going somewhere in the second season. And I was really looking forward to seeing where it was going to be going. But, you know, hopefully conversations like this can convince Netflix executives that they have to revive the show because it was spectacular. It was unlike anything I had ever seen on television. It was amazing. So right out of the gate, kind of how is this show described? So on the Friends from College Netflix Facebook page, they wrote, "Friendship means never having to say you're terrible." Now, do you think that's true or not? The Virgo in me says, absolutely not. You have to always admit when you're right and when you're wrong. And when you're wrong, even if you're friends, you still got to do the right thing because Virgos, typically, not all, but typically, we tend to what? We have high standards for ourselves and for the people who we love, which kind of sometimes makes us a bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest and to be frank. But you take the good with the bad, right? So many of us can be hardworking and so many of us can be super duper successful. And a part of that is because we're so dedicated to living up to really high standards. But a part of that, when it comes on the personal front, is a little bit challenging to deal with, right? So it's like, why are you eating cereal this way? Why do you chew this way? Kind of attack. It has no end. You can ask my husband. He does the same thing. But for a summary of what the show is about, I saw another really fun quote that I think really does a good kind of fit for what Friends from College is all about. Years after becoming friends at Harvard, Ethan, Lisa, Sam, Nikki, Max, and Marianne are heading into a new era, their 40s. Right? And that's really kind of where you're dropped in the middle of these characters' lives, where you're seeing what it's like to reconnect with people that you used to spend every day with on a college campus, especially Harvard, right? And now you guys have kids, maybe you want kids, and you're living your life, and like the friendship is definitely not what it once was. And then also discovering that the friendship that you thought you had might have been different than you even thought it was. So it's a lot going on with the show. There's drama. There's definitely sex. Lots of it. There is amazing humor. It was so well written. I mean, the writers on this show were phenomenal. It was spectacular. I watched like the first season and was like so in love with it, shared it with the hubby. He was like, okay, let's watch it. He loved it. I watched the first season all over again so that I could watch it with him. Then we watched the second season and now we were like, okay, we're waiting. We're ready, right? And then what happened? Netflix, what happened? Where you at? Right? Because you guys, you said we're not bringing it back for the third season, but I think that really is a mistake. And let's talk about it why that would be a mistake. So the 6 reasons why you want to watch this show. First, out of the gate, it's funny AF. Funny as fuck. I say this to let you know that I personally think I have a bit of humor. I have a bit of, that je ne sais quoi when it comes to being silly and being funny. And ultimately, when I watch a program that can make me laugh and make me think and make me just kind of hysterically see the points of relevance in my own life, it's a win, right? This is, as Lori from Shark Tank says, it's either a hero or something loser. I forget what she says, but like this is a hero. This is something who is that could have gone on for season after season. This show was funny. There were interesting scenes. The subtle humor was phenomenal. Also seeing each character and why each one had its own level of humor. Some of them are like quirky funny. Some of them are like outrageously like ha 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 crazy in your face. Some were serious characters, but because they were so serious, you were hysterically laughing like why are you taking your life so seriously right now? Like it was amazing, guys. So I think, like I said, if you have a program that is constantly making you laugh, making you think, making you see the relevancy in your own life and making you kind of connect fiction to reality, I think it's a hero. I think it's a win. Next, the drama. So I personally was a deep, happy Sex and the City fan. I loved Parenthood. I loved, what's another good show that I loved? Oh gosh, so many. Oh, I loved, if you go old school, like, obviously Friends, yes. Dawson's Creek, yes. Roswell, yes. I mean, for me, I've always loved like drama, focused shows. Definitely if you add in sci-fi or add in action, you're just like making my dreams come true. This one, I would say the drama was really focused on personal connection and human connectivity, which is an interesting point to really focus on because I think so many of us live our lives not feeling connected to each other, to ourselves. And so when you can kind of depict that in fiction and make people think without making people feel like they have to go schedule time for therapy thereafter, I think that's really cool, right? Because I think so much of fiction is a reflection of reality, which people are like, no, that's fiction. It's reality for someone because it was imagined in someone's mind, so thus it was real from someone's mind and made its way to screen. So ultimately you're gonna get lies, you're gonna get sex, you're gonna get affairs, you're gonna get kind of addicted to just wanting to know what's next. It's a kind of show where you can't just be like, okay, I'll just watch episode 1, maybe 2. Like once you're in, you're just like, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Like the first season, the first episode, that's how you start a goddamn show. That, oh my gosh, I loved the writers. I would love to meet them. I would love to just kind of interview them to just understand their process as to how they created these scenes. Effing phenomenal, guys. Effing phenomenal. So there's that. Next point I would say is reality is actually funny, right? So much of what we're doing in our actual day lives is funny as F, right? So now when you think about your college friends, I want you to ask yourself a question. How many of these people do you actually still speak to right now? Like right today, this moment? For me, I would say the answer is like none. I mean, because I don't necessarily consider like random conversations on Facebook or Instagram as like a real like friendship, right? That's just like kind of, we've gone to acquaintance status because you're obviously not, hollering or chatting with me right now. So, okay, that's fine. And then next question to think about is when you do hang out with your college friend, right? Does it ever feel awkward? Do you ever feel competitive? Do you ever even feel like there's just mad judgment that's happening? Right? And that's what this show is about. The idea that these characters were all friends at Harvard. And I just say Harvard that way just because, it just seems pretentiously funny. And, no offense. I have family members that went there. Yes, it's fabulous, darling. And, you're friends and you're competing and you're, doing your life, living your life. And then what happens? You graduate and then you go into reality, right? And then what do you do? Every time you do connect, doesn't it feel kind of like, well, I did this and you did this and I did this, and it's kind of a reiteration or explanation of the life that you're living, which personally I kind of detest because I just feel like if we're friends, then shouldn't you kind of know what's happening in my life? Why should I because then otherwise just read my blog, right? Like if you're You're either in it and you're living it and you're with it, or you're not, right? And so what is funny is there's all these scenes of like where they're connecting and they're just like, well, I did this and I did this. Or it's like you're talking and then it's just judgment. And it's like, should you really be judged by your friends? Hells yeah. Why? Because people are judgmental. That's what's happening. Now, I do agree with kind of Gary Vaynerchuk's approach to life, which is like we need to like chill on the judgment, because none of us are the arbiters of like what the best life is for ourselves, and are there things that we can consider and do and live better? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, does your college friend who you haven't spoken to in 20 years, do they really have a good handle of what you need now? No, because you haven't had conversations, you haven't connected, right? So it's interesting. And what's also interesting is the idea that the show shows you that maybe you're besties in college and maybe you're strangers now. And just because you used to be close doesn't mean you need to be close right now. Probably not, right? And also the show showed you what was interesting is, does your friends always bring out the best in you, or does it bring out the worst in you sometimes? Right? So I'm not going to answer that question. I want you to think about it. I want you to go on Netflix if you have Netflix. And if not, why don't you have Netflix? Oh my gosh. And then sign up and watch the show and keep me up to date. Keep me apprised of where you're at with which season you're in, what episode you're watching, how you feel about it. Because I just think that the show is just, it lends for beautiful conversation and just moments of pure happiness and joy. So definitely let's do that. Next, do you think about the impact of lies? So if you don't, then I think that the show is a really good fictional depiction of that. And if you do, then I think you will find the funny and not so funny realities of what it means to lie to your loved ones, what it means to lie to your family members, right? And ultimately, thanks, hubby. Love the image. I love koala bears. They're amazing. That's actually amazing. See, he's the best. And really this show, and again, I don't want to say too much because I really want you to see it from step one, because from episode 1, you see an enormous lie and it gets played out, and you got it. I don't want to ruin it for you. You have to see it. Go watch episode 1 and you will see why you have to then binge the rest of the season and the next season. And ultimately, for me, I say personally, I detest lies. I think lies are kind of the worst version of ourselves as human beings. And you absolutely, I was just having this conversation with Khalil, I believe last week, when I said, it is possible to live your life without a lie. Why? Because you can say nothing, or you can make an omission, right? Which is not a lie. It's just not sharing, an outright false statement. But lies bring out the worst in us. And I think that when you see that fictionally displayed, it really can get elaborate and it can get really convoluted, because that's what a writer's job for a show is, right? To kind of really bring you into this microcosm of madness, which is lie upon lie upon lie, so that you see how it unravels and how the characters behave and interact based on kind of what's happening in their lives. But then you kind of start to think about your own reality and like, how has your life been affected by people who've lied to you? And how have you affected your own life by being an ongoing liar, perpetuator of lies? It gets deep, guys. It gets really, and this is the kind of the part where you're laughing, and then you're like, now I'm thinking, this is fascinating, right? And you might even sound like you have to do it in different voices. It can get real, guys. So that's interesting, right? That's a really interesting plot part of the show that makes you really get addicted to it and really kind of think about the bigger impact of what you're watching and how media plays a role in our life. Because I also start to think about some of the things and programs I tuned into as a child, and I was a notorious HBO lover. Shout out to HBO. I watched all sorts of programming starting from the age of 6 that I should not have watched. And I watched a lot of programming that had sexy time, as I like to say, or it had these elaborate ruses and lies and interactions. And what I remember from the experience was thinking, adults seem really complicated and people seem to make things more difficult than they need to be. And so I sometimes have been accused of, like, when I lay things out, that it's like, oh, it's not that simple. But I have found that people want to make things much more complicated than they need to be. And to be honest, I have found great joy and great success in really breaking things down and making it simply beautiful or simply easy to follow or to execute, right? Not everything needs to be a Rubik's Cube. Things can be much simpler than we want it to be, but you got to take out the web of lies that we're living in within ourselves and with others. So that's a deep thought for Thursday. Woohoo! Thursday thoughts. Okay, next reason you want to watch the show. The show must go on, right? And I know it's not theater, but ultimately, being that it has been announced that the show is not going to, Netflix is not going to renew it for a third season, I saw a commentary online and people are pissed off. People are not happy. And I think the only way to get attention, really, for people who have the power at be to make this decision unturned or to think about a revival is that we got to have more viewership. If Netflix goes on and looks at their analytics and sees that people are tuning into the show well after the show announcement has been that the show's been canceled, and they see millions of people tuning in to watch this, do you think they're going to be like, oh, that's cool? Or they're going to be like, I think there is something here, right? So I think us using our power of, again, attention, giving the attention to things that we want to give attention to, so that those people who run these organizations can say, oh, we should do more of this, I think is super important. Also, what do we all have, right? We have our voice. We have our ability to write. We have our ability to spread the word the organic way, right? Make flyers, do whatever you want to do. But ultimately, if you're a blogger like me, if you're an influencer and you've watched a show, write something about it. Do a live stream about it. Get the content out there. We've got to make it clear to these execs that we will not stand not having this show continue. Because like I said, second season was not ended in a way that wraps everything up, right? To be like, oh, okay, guys. No, it really was ended in a way to lead to a whole other plot, breakdown of things, and it was gonna get juicy, guys, like, because the ending of season 2 was juicy. So I'm pissed off. I'm waiting. I'm still holding on to the memories of what happened in the show so that I'm ready to go for season 3. I don't believe them. Please join me on this fight to have the show continue, because those actors gave their everything. They did a phenomenal job. I don't know if how they feel about the whole situation, but from what I gathered from the show, they had phenomenal chemistry. They really gave great performances. I mean, it was great acting. It was great humor. It was great writing. All people involved in this production should be very proud of the work product that they made. And it made such an impact on me that I decided to do something about it and come to social media. So I asked you to do the same. I asked you to share this video. I asked you to join me in watching the show. Watch it again. Watch an episode. Like I said, make it clear to the execs that, like, the people here will not stand it not going on, that we want this to continue. So the show must go on. There you go. And then lastly, escape that is funny is really the best escape that you really can have. Why do I say this? So the content we consume is important, right? If you're consuming this, there's a reason why you're tuning into this program. There's a reason why you're joining in on the conversation. And we tune into things that maybe we should or maybe we shouldn't. Just, depends on kind of how much negativity is in it, what kind of emotions are being evoked, what type of feelings are being triggered, and all of that good stuff. But ultimately, you really want to be focusing on the consumption of content that is bettering your mind, body, and spirit, giving you humor, giving you kind of enjoyment of life. It's stimulating you. It's making you, inspiring you to start that business, to write that book, to start that tour, to do something with your life if that's what you want for yourself. It's giving you information to make your home more beautiful, to be a better parent, right? There's so many different aspects of our lives that content can really supplement and make our lives better. And I'm just suggesting that if you're looking to consume escapism content, right? So content that's not necessarily making you think like hardcore, right? Like not like, how was the Pythagorean theorem founded, right? Like not that kind of thinking, not like History Channel thinking, but just like kind of surface level, like, that's an interesting lie, or how did this happen, or, that was a sexy scene, right? Make sure that you're watching escapism that makes you laugh, right? There's all these different kind of articles and things that you can see that talk about the value of humor, the value of laughing, and just kind of having more joy in your daily lives, right? And this show gave me tremendous joy. And I really do thank the writers and everyone involved in the production of just like giving me that moment with my hubby again, right? In marriage, you got to make time for your partner. You got to make sure your partner and you are enjoying things together. The stronger your friendship is with your partner, the stronger your marriage is. And I'm grateful to say that this show gave us things to talk about. It gave us things to laugh about. And I will hold it dearly in my heart. And I'm really, really hoping that you do too, so that we can stand together and again, demand that the show go on. You see how passionate I'm about this. You would think I was running for president, really. I'm not going to be like the 4,000th person who's like, I want to be president for 2020. Get it together, guys. Get it together, Dems. Y'all are... I can't. I cannot with you. That's a whole other conversation. We will not address that tonight. So what are the overall kind of friends from college lessons learned? One, friends now might not be friends later, and that's okay. And that was a little bit rough to learn because, like I said, and I think barely Khalil, like we don't really necessarily talk to the friends that we had in college, and we had some great friends. We had some great friendships going on, but ultimately what happens? People move away. People really, stop checking in with each other. And for me, Virgo always, right? A friend is not someone that you talk to, for me at least. For other people, you all have to define what friendship is for you. For me, a friend is not talking to you once every 5 months. I mean, in certain cases I have done that and I will tolerate that in some cases, but overarchingly, like overwhelmingly, I would say I really like a friend who maybe I chat to maybe like once a month, once every 2 months, if not sooner than that. And so that's okay. It's okay that, you used to have a good time with the person and now they're a stranger to you. You wish them well, right? Maybe you'll reconnect down the road. Don't carry around a bunch of guilt. Don't feel like, oh, what was it? Was it something I did? Shit happens, right? Like, it's okay. It's okay, guys. Next, action means more than words. So ultimately, what I learned from the show is when people are making promises, and again, this is fiction, I understand, but again, there's interesting ties between fiction and reality. Always remember that. And for fiction to be reality, it had to be in someone's mind. So it is actually a part of reality, but that's a whole other deeper thing. I won't go there. But ultimately, is it more important for people to say a bunch of stuff or to do what they're saying? Action. Action speaks louder than words. So if you're struggling in your marriage and you're like, no, honey, I'm going to get it together. I'm going to do things different. I'm going to do things different. And then next week, I'm going to do things different. And then next week, and the person never changes. Would you have preferred for that person to have acted differently and said nothing and allowed you to observe and reap the benefits of those actions? Or do you want them to keep telling you how they're changing and how they're going to change and how they're going to change and shit never happens? Alex, I'll take the action for 200. Right? And I really want you to think about this because this is something that applies to yourself as well as the people in your life. Act, stop talking about acting, right? Like, oh, I'm about to go to the gym. Nope. What I do is I go to the gym and then I talk about going to the gym after. Not, oh, I'm ready to go to the gym because boom, boom, you might not make it there. And then you asked out talking about how you were going to go to the gym and you didn't go there. Go to the gym. Put in the action, speak about it later. Act first. Get the actions out there. Do what you say you're going to do. Stop talking about it. Just do it. Okay? Next, friendship needs to be more than just like, oh, we've known each other since we were 12. And this was a hard lesson for me to learn because there's certain people in my life who I wanted to keep in my life because, I was like, oh, well, I've known them since I was 6. I don't speak to that person or those people anymore. And that's okay, right? It's okay that I don't necessarily have someone that I can go back to and say, oh, look at this historical record. what am I, like a encyclopedia? Like, it's okay. It's totally fine. And at the end of the day, I wasn't necessarily super in love with my childhood. So maybe it's okay not having that reminder of that shitty time period, right? Like, bullied, felt like crap, super insecure. Yes, let's hang out for dinner. Let's have wine with that. Hells no. Try to move on. Try to be on a positive, uplifting beat in your life, right? You don't need the reminders of all the times you felt shitty, especially if that person was a part of that process, right? Like, let the historical record stay a historical record is ultimately my point. And then the last one, and this was funny from the show, negative people are not just like your negative friends, they're actually just negative people. And so if you want to be friends with a negative person, you have to accept the consequence of that action. But I encourage you to remember the value of what positivity brings in your life versus the value of negativity, and then see which outweighs which and what do you want more of. And it actually requires action, meaning you have to actively take out negativity to not surround yourself by it, and to actively in kind of engorge and take in positivity if you want more of it in your life. What you have around you, what you consume, who you spend time with, takes and requires action each and every time, whether it's positive or negative, right? If you want to go shoot up a bunch of drugs, you got to go find where to get the drugs. If you want to go to a conference and, spend your life really just enjoying and taking in, the Tony Robbins of the world and the Oprahs of the world, right? Then you got to go and spend that money, spend that time to do that. So action will either can breed positive or negative, but what is going to make you a more happier, more fulfilled person? Probably positivity. So just keep that in mind. What's next? We pretty much are at that time for the end of this program. I greatly appreciate you tuning in. I really, 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 really want you to go watch the show. I want to hear what you think about it. Do you like it? What character related to you do you related to the most? Ultimately, I'd love to learn why you also think that this show should be continued so that we can again kind of join, have a bigger narrative around this, and we can kind of protest the idea that this show comes to an end, because it was probably one of my most favorite TV shows I've ever watched. I think Netflix hit it on the nail, like with this show. I don't know why they're not putting more money and more resources behind it. I think it's going to be a mistake, and they need to make sure this continues. I want you to share this video to help put that messaging out. I want you to go and make sure that you have connected with me and the Dressing Room 8 platform. So you go to dressingroom8.com to subscribe to the blog, to check out some of the other content that I have, and more importantly as well, to also check out my next programs. I put up a calendar so you can see where I'm at and what I'm doing this month, next month, and beyond. And stay tuned for some changes, because there are going to be some schedule updates. I'm not announcing anything just yet, but there will be some changes on my schedule, which I'm excited for. And I'm really excited to bring you along on the journey for that. So stay on the lookout for that. And please, again, subscribe to the blog so that you, via email, you can get notification every time we have a new blog post. And also, I'm really excited to share that today I actually found out that Dressing Room 8 is one of the top 75 women in business blog lists. So, yay! Many years writing and blogging, and I've, finally gotten an award for it, and that's phenomenal. So I'm really just honored that you all have tuned in and have supported the platform. Because again, if you didn't tune in, I wouldn't have anyone to read or tune into this. So thank you for all of your support, and I greatly appreciate it, and I greatly appreciate you. And again, thank you for tuning in tonight. Let's save this show. Friends from college, watch it. Tell me how you feel about it. Come back here, write to me, email me, visit the blog, let me know. And again, if you have any other questions or comments, put them in here. If you watch this on the replay, put #replay so I know kind of where you're at with this. And with that, thank you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.